What's up, guys? It's your boy JP back on the Indie Sooner and the JP and Trav show. And the homie Trav he just got home. He was running a little bit late, and my computer was getting kind of jacked up today. It's just been a rough night. So he's in the bathroom, and he's going to be on very, very, very shortly. But guys, today is going to be really a classic JP and Trav show. We're going to use the chat exclusively. Um, we're going to ask you guys what you think about the season. We'll ask some questions. Obviously, we'll go back and forth, but we'll put some things up there as we go on, and we'll just drive it that way. I don't even think I'm gonna plan on doing a this or that just this week. Maybe if you guys have a this or that later, we'll throw some in the chat if y'all have one, and we'll throw them up. But really, just want to engage with you guys and kind of move forward as we recap what has been the 2022-2023 regular season. Obviously, we do have one game left, the bowl game. We have yet to see what that's going to be and who we're going to play. We'll find that out hopefully after the weekend and everything like that. But we'll talk a little bit conference championship game, college football playoff. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions just about you know the transfer portal, who we're looking at, who we can get, recruiting, all that jazz. So just let me know what you guys think, and we'll go from there. Like I said, Trav's going to be on very, very, very shortly, but I just wanted to get started so that we're not holding you guys up any longer. We know you guys it's already late, and so we appreciate those of you that do show up for the live show with us. We do appreciate y'all. Let's go ahead and get started on this first question. It says, JP, who do you want to play in the bowl game? I mean, I've seen um, Arkansas is one. I'd love to play Arkansas. I think that it would be really great for both those fan bases, both our fan bases, excuse me. And, it being in such close proximity and knowing we'll probably end up playing each other a decent amount in the SEC. And yeah, it'd be fun to just see what that looks like. I lived in Northwest Arkansas for 2 years. My family lived there for 10, and so it would really be interesting to be able to play them. And really, I would want to kick their butt because the Hogs talk trash, as my buddy Drew England can attest to. They talk gobs of trash, and they really don't have a right to or any space to. Um, Really, genuinely, because they haven't been that great as a program. They've won one national championship, and other than that, they've been pretty mediocre. And so, yeah, I'd love to rip them a new one. Worst case scenario, it's us losing, but at least I guess we could say we had a down year. We have our first coach. It's not like we're back up and running yet. We could use that as an excuse. But you guys let me know what you think. Sorry, switching camera feeds here for a second. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, I mean, hey, just want to practice at this point. Get who we want to get better. See some of these young guys compete and go off. Obviously, we've seen some people go to the portal and whatnot, and that is just more power to those guys. Obviously, Theo Weiss loved him as a Sooner, and hopefully he finds and lands somewhere on his feet. And then, obviously, Anton Harrison is going to the league. Wanye probably will be. I imagine Eric Gray will be too. So, you know, we'll see what Marvin decides to do. But that's just kind of where we are. Yeah, hey, that definitely could happen. I'm not gonna say no. I'm not gonna say never. I think that Micah Tease is somebody that, again, Trav knows well, and somebody that, hey, you look at, hey, we didn't want him as a um, wide receiver at first. The old Steph really would rather have him as a DB, but he's still a pretty highly rated recruit, especially in terms of us just losing um, Anthony Evans to Georgia. That's somebody that we, really would obviously take a really good look at, and somebody that has loved OU growing up. So why not take a big look at him? Um, yeah, let me check on Trav here, make sure you're all right. He told me he was you know, taking Lil Wiz for this. Been a little bit longer than Lil Wiz, huh? We're gonna have to check in on him. Um, Let me answer this question that Brian answered, or excuse me, asked. He said, biggest question for me, and we do have a bunch of questions actually that you guys sent us on Twitter that we're going to go through. He said, biggest question for me is what do we make a priority in the portal, and how many, or who do we make a priority in the portal? Really, I think names will be all over the place. Running back, tight end, 2 receivers. Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think that we're definitely gonna hit the D line hard. We'll definitely hit, um, linebackers hard for sure, just the inside linebacker, just to have better quality depth there. Defensive backs, I think we'll have to see what happens with that. Wide receivers, I felt like we would definitely hit running backs. I don't really know what Marcus is going to do. He really hasn't been able to stay healthy or really get on the field. Obviously, we have Javante Barnes, Gavin Sawchuk, we have Caleb Hicks coming in. We have Dylan Smothers as well. So I think we're good on the running back position. We might have some youth there, but I don't think we look at it and say, oh, we really need a transfer running back immediately necessarily. Offensive line, I think, is definitely somewhere you can look. Now, obviously, we have a couple guys that were freshmen this year that and Jacob Sexton and elsewhere that you look at and say, hey, what are they going to be able to do when they get their opportunity? And I think they're going to have opportunity to do that really quickly here. So we'll have to see what that looks like. But I don't know, man. I don't know if we're really gonna do that much or if it's gonna be less than that. So um let's see. He must be hey, I don't know. I hope not, man. I hope he's not past the kidney stone. Those things are painful as all get out. I have never personally had one, but I have heard the stories. So hey, make sure you guys hit that like button again. Everybody that's in here and everybody that's watching and will watch throughout the week, you hit the like button helps the video get put up in the algorithm. It helps more people see it, and more people get to this content. So if you really enjoy being here and you really enjoy the content that we produce, please like this and also share it. Share it on Twitter, share it to Facebook, wherever you're at. Say, hey, if you're up, you ain't got nothing to do, then we're rolling. So yeah, we love y'all. Appreciate y'all all the time. Just make sure you smash that like button. All right. Yeah, I mean, we expected that though. Um, at the end of the day, he's been here forever and he just hasn't really seen anything, seen the field or anything like that. And with that being said, let's go ahead and bring on the man of the hour, Travis Davidson. Trav, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Sorry, I all kinds of got in a little late. Had all kinds of setup issues. I'm actually it's sitting on my wine rack right now. So, but I actually got a couch now. So, you know, but I'm here. I'm here.
Hey,
Crazy
that's
news
fun.
day. So maybe I was just taking in all the crazy news across college football, the playoff, Mickey Joseph, the Senior Bowl invites, the portal, the NFL declarations, all this kind of stuff. Um, the Florida quarterback. I mean, like wild day. The All Big 12 selections came out today, this
Yes, they
afternoon. Like
did.
it's been a day, man. So sorry I'm a bit late, but hey, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot to talk about. And Trav, like I told them, it's gonna be more of a classic night. We're gonna let the chat run it completely. No prompts today. Probably not even a this or that. If they have one that they want to do, we'll throw it up there. But just let them kind of speak what's on their mind, and we'll respond accordingly as obviously we're recapping a disappointing season. There's no other way to put it. Clearly, obviously, those of you who've been with us this last year, you know that we are both often called sunshine pumpers because we're not super negative people. We don't like to just wallow in self pity. So we're not going to point out all the negative all the time. But again, I don't think either of us are afraid to point out things that are disappointing or wrong. And this was a disappointing season. I think objectively, you have to look at it and say that, and you have to say, okay, how can we get better? Clearly, there were failures, at different points, and you can point to every, especially close game, and you can say, man, if things happen this way or that way, we may win more games, and that's absolutely true. But at the end of the day, it didn't happen, and so then you have to sit back and say, okay, what changes can be made, if any, can or need to be made. What are we going to do from there? So, Chad, you have anything, man? Just as an opening statement before we get kind of rolling in this chat.
Yeah, I mean, the season obviously disappointing. We got a bunch of losses by 3 points. 4 of our losses came down to the final drive. It speaks to depth. That's what we've continued to harp on. It reared its ugly head against Tech, right, where it was, you're fine late as if you just get a stop, like get 2 stops, and we're good. And couldn't get him because you've got all of these guys on the field for the entire time, and that kind of speaks to, like, we talked about the roster being stripped down to the studs, right? We talked about that.
Yeah.
The problem with that was not the 4s and 5 stars and blah 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 and the ratio and all this, that, and the other. It was the depth was just gone. You saw it at quarterback. You saw it at linebacker, specifically. You saw it at defensive line, especially linebacker. I mean, you got Danny and David and Deshaun playing 100 snaps, which it just, and of course, the offense could do their part to slow that down. But I mean, Dylan Gabriel is the Big 12 newcomer of the year. He's second in yards or first in yards per game, second in touchdowns, second in pass efficiency. I mean, in Big 12, I'm saying. So I think Dylan comes back, has a really good year next year, and I think we get a lot of help on the defensive line and at linebacker, and actually at safety too, through the portal. So I'm hearing a lot of good things there. Interesting, going forward now towards the bowl, because the Big 12 schedule will come out soon. Hopefully in the next few days is what I've heard. But anyways, yeah, I called Dylan a bum on the radio today, out of sarcasm. So, but yeah, weird. We've got Dylan Gabriel as newcomer of the year over Mr. Quinn Ewers, which, preseason, you never would have thought that was possible. But it's, to Derek's point, like, so much of that, it's almost like the West Virginia game, and even like first half of West Virginia, or it was first half of West Virginia, where Danny was just flying around. He was making every hit, this, that, and the other. It's only his first year starting. Like, is what it is. Like, you need to, in order to play 100 snaps, you're going to get run over late. Because those running backs, I promise you, they're not playing 100 snaps. The ones that are running them over, they're on their 15th carry, and he's on his 100th time he's got to tackle. Because when you play a 3-man front like we played so often, they were getting to the next level. The linebackers always had to be up in the play, right? This isn't a situation where a corner's got to run with a guy for a while. Sometimes you see it on the edge. Sometimes a run goes the other way, and the corner doesn't. I mean, he gets blocked, but it's not the most physical play of his day. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Danny, another year with Schmitty. The guy's got good size, but it's and for the people that are like, oh, Schmitty clearly didn't do anything if we're so gassed. You're not supposed to be able to play 100 snaps and not get tired at all with only a little bit of time with Schmidt. It's just not the case. So um, it's it's unfortunate, but again, you look for depth, and you don't want any of those guys gone. And despite what random people say that don't have any actual information, Danny's not getting processed. So you got some help coming at linebacker because here's the thing: the Venables name is still extremely potent across college football when it comes to linebackers. It simply is. So we've got talented guys coming in the 2023 class. If you get a guy like Rashad Samples, then you can pretty much lock down a ton of the DFW. So, including some of its linebackers. So, which is wild to think that he has an impact on, a position outside of wide receiver, running back, that kind of thing. The dude, he can recruit any position in that location. That's part of why you're hiring him, is not specifically because he can teach the most crisp routes. It's all about recruiting. So, those are just some opening thoughts. PG show, old Preston telling us, try to publicly say, let the Cale stuff go. Yes, we're not going to talk about Cale Gundy in the chat or on the pod. He's moved on. We need to move on, despite whatever Dean Blevins says, which, if you haven't seen Dean Blevins' tweet, he basically said, hey, Hugh Freeze got hired at Auburn, so that blowback looks awesome. So we should hire Cale back. Cale's moved on. Cale's doing cool stuff at the coach's cabana. I've seen him probably 5-6 times since the incident. Like, he was given an opportunity, an option. He was like, you know what? As always with Cale, he said, it's going to be best for me and the university for me to move on. So it's best for the university for him to move on. So I moved on, and now you got all these people bringing it up like we should bring him back. It's stop it. We'll just stop. So so we can roll with the chat. We can roll with questions. We can roll with whatever we want to do. It's up to you, man.
Yep. No, that's what we'll do. Just roll with again, what we got going on in the chat, and just anything that you want to bring up or you can think about. Obviously, I know that one of the other big pieces of news is the Board of Regents voting on the big project, right? There's only facility, and so our boy Eddie Radosevich on a little news station kind of talking about. I thought he did a good job just speaking to what impact that can have on a program, and how guys like Thad. That's kind of what he was brought here to do, right? Was turn Oklahoma into an Alabama, Clemson type in terms of recruiting and what we can do with that. So really excited about that. Let's see.
And that's what like when other staffers got here, they talked to me about that and talked to me about the expansion and whatnot compared it to other places they had been. They were talking about how OU was so far behind, and it's weird walking around the Switzer Center and being in the locker room and being in the coach's locker room and the recoveries and all that kind of stuff. And like, you walk around and you're like, what do you mean? Like, this is incredible. So, but they're like, logistically, it's not set up very well. Like, from where they eat, from where they do like study hall, from where they do like workouts, like where they like, it's just, they kept on just expanding. And now they finally get to redo it, put everything where they want, focus on recovery and nutrition, which is wildly important. As they try to do that now, they just try to kind of place it in rooms that weren't meant for it, just trying to stuff everything into one building. So all very exciting. It'll definitely, it puts us up there with the best of the best. So college football is an arms race. So when y'all check your bank account in the morning, y'all's money ain't going to be gone. It's not tax dollars. It's not anything else. So when it's when it comes to big price tags like this, people, oh man, I can't believe we're spending this much. It's like the Fresh Prince. We, no, we're not spending that.
Yeah.
JP and Trav ain't spending $175 million. It's
I ain't got that.
we might have to start getting some sponsors or running some ads if we start doing $175 million for upgrades.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think Jake talked about that. He said he loves Brent and wants back in college football.
Yeah, he wants back in the area. The OU and Samples flirtation has gone on for years. Back pre-Shane Beamer, he was talked about being brought on in that role. And it's just always kind of, no matter who's been at Oklahoma, it's always kind of been, that, let me save your number, let me pass along your number, like always in talks. So, like I said, he's big in that DFW Metro, and OU has always been big there too. So, A&M is also after him. Texas State is after him, as obviously that's a big name drop off, but Texas State is offering him as an offensive coordinator, I believe. So, anyways, I think with him, I think he's only like 27 years old. So,
yeah,
like his upward trajectory, he doesn't have to worry about being an OC at 27 at a place like Texas State. I thought Jake Spavital, who had been kind of co-offensive coordinator around the Big 12 a little bit, also very young at the time, I thought he could have maybe waited, especially how offensive guys have been getting a lot of head coaching positions. I thought he could have waited for something better than Texas State, because I really don't feel like Texas State's a job where you can be like, okay, I'll go there.
Yeah.
And then, put together a couple 9-win seasons, and then, Clemson's going to hire me, or OU's going to hire. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you wait long enough to become that offensive coordinator. So, and Spavital obviously went to Union, and I know his dad. But so that's partly why I have that opinion. But yeah, Samples and OU is a real thing.
For sure. Yeah, and hopefully we end up, still in that deal. It'll be huge, like you said, for the Dallas area, man. I mean, that cat and his dad is the head coach at shoot.
It was Duncanville. I'm not sure if it's still there. I think he is though.
Yes, that's what I thought.
He almost single-handedly made Savion Byrd. SMU.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Single-handedly.
Literally.
Yeah, his mom told him, "Hey, stop screwing around and go to OU."
Yeah.
But he wanted to go to SMU.
Yeah. So, let me scroll back up in the chat. There's a couple other things.
And as far as dad's coaching, I want to drop this real quick. As far as dad's coaching, I know a lot of people saw the announcement that David Hicks, the dad, is now the head coach at Katy Paytow, where David goes to school there in the Houston area. Well, he was already an assistant coach and interim coach this whole time. So I think a lot of people saw that and they thought, well, it's over. David's staying because dad, got a coaching position locally. He's already been a coach there. So don't let that alarm you. So Matt asks, 2 weeks before early signing period, Brent got a top 10 class, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to be close. Yeah, I would say that I still think we end up in the top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in that.
We felt like we would get for sure top 5. Top 10 is a lock. I would say.
Yeah, top 10 lock.
Barring catastrophe, which it can't get much worse. So I'm not sure what can happen between now and early signing day.
I mean, doomsday scenarios to finish outside would have to be Jackson leaving, but that ain't happening.
That's not
That ain't
happening.
happening if unless Levy stays or unless Levy leaves. But Levy's not leaving either.
That's not
So
happening either. So
I know everybody DMing me about, hey, Levy to A&M. I hear they're going after um, Levy and Jackson. I'm like, stop it, guys. Just stop it.
I mean, what like just doomsday scenarios, man. You know how the doomium people are. Yeah.
Yeah, I deal in hopium, baby. I'm a hopium
Yeah.
dealer.
We hope dealers over here, sunshine, because you can't live life like that, dog. Like you just can't. I'm sorry. Let me
There's
see.
enough there's enough negative out there. What else we got in the chat? What we got going? Is Mickey Joseph available? Absolutely not. I
No, he's
see the
not.
sarcasm. OU
Uh-huh.
out on Okunlola. Yes, as of right now. I mean, not out, but I wouldn't count on it by any means. There is a 2023 the top JUCO interior offensive lineman is having some interest back and forth. That's the dad that tweeted out the picture of OU Stadium the night we striped the stadium for the Notre Dame game when James Harden got traded that night. He was the one that tweeted that out and said, "Is this real?" That's the dad of the number one. Keyshawn Blackson. He's the number one. What's funny is I was at the gala last night. Shout out Steve Bullard. I was at the Pearl House Gala last night, and I started getting texts from Drum. He says, "Tell Blackstone's dad Thunder are closer than 30 minutes." And I was like, "Excuse me?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I thought he got the wrong number. I was like, "Hey, man, wrong dude." He's like, "No, man, check your mentions." And I hadn't checked Twitter because I was at this charity gala, and I was like, "Oh crap," because he was asking how far it was from the Thunder, and this, that, and the other. So, anyways, offensive line through transfer portal or through JUCO or anything like that, going to be in good shape. I mean, you look at Bill Bedenbaugh, or you look at Bill Bedenbaugh first. He's awesome. Secondly, look at the line we have now. I mean, of the top five or top six guys that got snaps this year, Guyton transfer, McCade transfer,
Yeah.
Wanye transfer, Chris Murray transfer. That kind of like you're looking at four of the top six offensive linemen getting snaps this year, all being transfers. So Bill is very comfortable getting kind of the grown men that you need. Big, strong. Yeah, Conjul's he's probably the seventh in snaps, I would imagine, just because Guyton got so many early. But yes, Conjul's might be tied for sixth. They're close to it. But my mind always goes to Guyton because he's our best backup, in my opinion. I think Guyton's got a really good future, especially next year. I think he's going to be really, really good. Is Roof back next year? Maybe. It's tough because like we were saying earlier, like I don't ever want to like talk about dudes losing their job or kids, it's just it feels weird to me. And I know they're in a public position and they deserve criticism and they took a job that is open to criticism by a lot of fanatic people, fans. So when it comes to Roof was never a long-term option. Since 2011, I believe he's been at 9 schools. He is a guy that knows Venables defense, can call Venables defense. He was an analyst in Clemson last year. So when it came to a lot of the decisions that were made this year in coaching were install based, year one stuff.
Yep.
So like Ted Roof was coming to do the install. He was brought in to do the install.
Yep.
Say, hey, let me let me focus on that. Brent needs to focus on, learning how to be a head coach. Ted, do the install with me. You know how to call it, this, that, and the other. Same thing with Lebby and QB1. I've talked with plenty of people about this. Whether others like it or not, it was probably the right move by Lebby to focus wholeheartedly on Dylan Gabriel, the guy that knew the offense. Because keep in mind, when you get a guy like when Venables got here, who did he bring with him from Clemson? Multiple people, right? Miguel Chavis, Todd Bates, Ted Roof, Thad Turnipseed, even like analysts. Like you bring all these people over. They help install the defense because they know the defense. Who knew Lebby's offense when he got here? Because Brent had to keep all the OU guys. So when you keep Cale, Bill, DeMarco, Joe John, when you keep your whole offensive staff, you don't have anybody to help you install. So Lebby's having to teach the coaches, and then Dylan knew more than the coaches when you get there. And so the development of QB2 wouldn't be what it's like in a normal year. Like I would argue whether take Jackson Arnold out of the equation, which obviously is not what we're going to do moving forward. But take Jackson Arnold out of the equation, it looks completely different next year because you have time and people that know the system, so you can spend more time with QB2. You can spend more time developing QBs instead of trying to plug and play transfers that have college experience. So, yeah, it's already tough to install that offense immediately because every single play has an option. Every single play has quarterback run, a handoff, or a pass. Like you have to be making those decisions. So with that, year 2 is going to look entirely different because people are going to be so much more comfortable. So, and to Jimmy's point, 120 on defense wasn't installed very good. First of all, we're much higher on the SP plus. That's kind of what a lot of people use. I'm not going to make any excuses for the defense, but we just had no depth at all. Look at our first halves versus our second halves. Look at OSU, look at West Virginia, look at Tech. Like they played decent. Well, Tech we just played tired late, but we couldn't get off the field late, and that's what killed us. It was less of an install situation. And honestly, we had a lot of guys that were recruited to a smaller body, a slimmer body, more leaned out body, simple defense. And again, when I say simple, I don't mean bad. Like people want to say, well, Grinch's defense had NFL players. Yeah, sure. Okay, fine. I'm not saying that it was bad. It's just a completely different philosophy. And Grinch's defense has never won a national championship. Brent Venables has won 3 of them. So it's just a different offense or a different defense. So when you get a bunch of guys that signed up for, and they're talented, but they signed up for a simple, fast defense, they didn't go to Clemson for a reason.
Yeah.
And maybe Clemson didn't offer them for a reason. Not a lot of defenders on our team right now have Clemson offers out of high school. And Brent talks about hard work. He talks about strain. He talks about commitment to being uncomfortable. That wasn't preached to these guys in recruitment. They were teach, hey, it's just going to be simple. So, anyways, that's, I think year 2 looks a lot different because not sure if Ted Roof's here because we're kind of done with the install. If he is, it would only be 1 more year. I guess my internet's slow. Everybody talking about my connection.
Yeah, you're a little grainy, but it's okay.
It's on a Mac. It's on a MacBook Pro. I gotta call Apple and get my stuff back. Although I am going to.
It's probably your Wi-Fi that took 50 years to get there.
Probably, exactly. Yeah, I guarantee you that.
But yeah, here's some numbers that Jacob's always a stat guy that some different numbers than just total defense, which is I know what Jimmy was using. I do think again, not that the defense was even average, but like to Travis points, what we said, like when you look at, and I said this today, um, somebody want I hate it's my biggest pet peeve this year when people say Brent Venables inherited an 11-2 team. No, he didn't. He didn't inherit Caleb Williams. He didn't inherit um, the defense that we had last year, the defensive talent that we had last year. We lost 6 starters off of last year's defense, and 5 of them are in the league right now, and 3 of them were on the defensive line.
In
Right. So, like,
comparison, are we going to have 5 defenders drafted this year?
not even close.
No.
No, absolutely. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, and then on top of that, again, Brent Venables gets in and he stops the bleeding of the class and ends up with a number 8 class. And so we have some good young talent, but there's hardly any depth, as you said, Trav, there. And people can say, well, what about the poor? What? Okay, so especially when we're talking about linebackers, which Trav mentioned earlier. Okay, here's what the linebacking core was going to look like this year, right? TD Roof, Danny Stutzman, David Guebu, and Shane Whittier. TD Roof tears his bicep, is out the whole year. Shane Whittier, I think in week 3 or 4. Was it his ACL that he tore?
Yeah, it was season ending, but
yeah,
I forget
whatever
what
it was.
exactly.
Yeah, whatever it was, he was out for the season. So now you really just go to 2 linebackers. And I know Jaren Kanak is good. I know he has a bright future ahead of him. But again, like BB's not going to put somebody out there that he feels like. And I know everybody will say, well, David and Dane didn't always do great, perfect years. They didn't know. Like clearly, Brent felt like Jaren was not going to be doing enough to be out there consistently. Like at times, was he? Yeah. And I know some people have gripes with that. Some people say that they don't like that philosophy and that Brent should have just played people who he feels like are going to be in this defense in the future. Anyway, you can have that opinion. That's fine. I'm not saying that it's the worst opinion in the world. But again, he's a true freshman. And we talked about not wanting to be at the point where true freshmen have to play. And if you're trying to bank on a true freshman playing significant snaps, then that should tell you about the state of the team and the depth of the team.
Yeah.
And so when you have, like he said, like Trav said earlier, you have these guys playing 100+ snaps on top of that in some games and not getting breaks. The linebacking position, right, and safeties are the 2 positions in Brent Venables' defense that have to do the most IQ wise. Defensive line needs to, they need to be big, strong, fast, elite moves, get to the quarterback, right? That's their job. But linebacker and safeties, they got to know where to line up, how to line people up, where to go. Period.
Well, and even safeties, you look at it, Damon Harmon goes out, Billy Bowman goes out.
Yeah.
Like we're playing Woody Washington at safety for part of the season. Like completely just plug and play. Hey, try and go figure that out. Which it's looking increasingly like Woody's coming back, which is
I've heard that.
odd, which would be great. Don't get me but it's just fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that's just defensive depth. We can probably just leave it at that. We just need defensive depth. You can't go starters to true freshmen.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Let me see. What else we got? Who is that? David. Does he mean you? Does he mean David you? Because I don't know who David O is.
David Ortiz? Big Poppy?
Big Poppy.
Big Poppy. Yeah. David Ortiz is leaving the Boston Red Sox, if you haven't heard. But yeah, David U.
Trav, I'll let you answer this.
Change. Okay.
With
David U, it might be a positional change or something like that. I think he probably gets overtaken next year by another linebacker.
I agree.
Okay. How do we look long-term recruiting with NIL being a huge factor? Here's the thing. NIL is going to, like, the current state of it is not sustainable. So I will, let's see. Let's compare it to this. Compare it to, y'all remember how the QB or how the rookie scale used to go in the NFL? It was insane. These rookies were getting paid insane amounts of money. And Sam Bradford, our Sammy B, was the last guy to get the big payday, right? As a rookie. The next year it dropped down because the model it wasn't sustainable. So that's a lot of kind of what we're dealing with now. This type of money up front isn't really sustainable. You're looking at it with, and it's never been a good idea in human history to make 18-year-olds millionaires and then go try and make them disciplined young men. Like people talk about all the time, I'd rather have a 3-star with heart than a 5-star, prima donna.
Yeah.
So people already have it in their head that 5 stars are prima donnas. So you want to give that prima donna $1 million before he's done anything? No, the reason that you need new facilities is to build bigger doorways, because those kids are going to have heads like this. They're not going to be able to walk through 2 at a time in double doors. So, anyways, it's not sustainable. Joe C has said as much. It's not sustainable. We need to do what we can now to kind of shoulder the load with the current state of it. Yeah. But I don't think it stays exactly like this. I think I just don't think it'll end up winning. And OU's got the 3rd highest paying NIL collective, 3rd highest paid NFL or NIL reportings, A&M and slightly behind Michigan right now. So we're playing the game, there's no doubt. But if you look at the top 10 recruiting classes in 2023 right now, you know what they look a lot like? Every recruiting class rankings for the last 10 years. You got Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Texas, Ohio State, Florida, Miami. That's 8 that I'm sure in the top 10, or at least close. And they've always been it's been that way for forever. So I know sometimes we get caught up on, David Hicks did this, or, the offensive line last year, DJ Campbell was absolutely going to be a Sooner. There were some health issues with his dad. He straight up just needed that $50,000. And I can never fault a kid for taking care of his family when given the opportunity. So, but in the grand scheme of things, in the long run, you want to talk about long run, losing out on DJ Campbell will not matter. If we're talking long run, because you have to stack big classes, right? So that's kind of my take on it. Is the current model necessarily isn't sustainable, and I don't think it's going to lend itself to winning a ton. I think winning will consistently be what gets you not only the talented kids, but it gets you the ones that want to work, that want to wake up early, that want to go to class, that want to help their community, that want to be a positive impact in the locker room, want to be a good teammate, want to do this, that, and the other. Those are the guys you want on your team. You want to be a character-led recruiting, style, a character-led team. And I think that's what Venables, and I think that's what Samples likes too. Samples has always said he wants to work for a character-led program, which I'm not sure. A&M's a real competitor in that race for Samples. I'm just not sure he goes there with all their cultural issues.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember it was close to not this time, but a couple months ago, this time last year, where I made a video and Texas fans got all on me because I said, "Look, y'all can talk about NIL all you want. You can talk about, oh, we got the best boosters in Texas, this, that, and third, whatever collective you feel like you can set up. It's only going to work for a certain amount of time. And if you don't produce on the field, kids are going to stop going there. Because
Yeah.
what is a funky little $150,000 compared to whatever contract Trent Williams just signed, whatever contract Lane Johnson just signed, right? Like whatever contract Jalen Hurts is inevitably going to sign. Like, you know what I mean? At
Well,
the end of the
and
day,
not only the contracts they're going to sign, but when people talk about Trent Williams, what do they say? Right? Hall of Fame,
yeah,
best player in the league, monster, freak. Like nobody brings up the money.
yeah,
They bring up that he's the best because he was developed and he had the right mindset and he had this so. Sure, money's cool, absolutely, but when you can have money and also a legacy and a Hall of Fame career and this, that, and the other, you're far more likely to have those things if you go to a place that's going to develop you. You're going to win. If TCU had a libs on the 7 first team of 12, a couple of them probably weren't deserving, but they're undefeated. So, winning teams, you get 2 more awards. Simple as I put up the quarterback comparison and really annoyed people. When I put up the quarterback comparison between the 2003 season and this year. 47% of people, I think, like thousands of votes, season this year. But it's the quarterback gets far too much credit and far too much blame for team wins. Oh man, go Robo again.
Robo Trav, you might as well go get the you might as well go get the Stormtrooper helmet.
Oh man, right. Let's see if I can jump to my hotspot. Jump over to my hotspot so I can change.
You are lagging a little bad. But yeah, no, straight up, like just exactly what you said. At the end of the day, kids are going to end up going places where they hear, they can be developed. It's all going to hit the fan. This is a flash in the pan. This is a flash in the pan. So, but all that to be said, OU's playing the game, like Travis said. They're playing the game. They are. Again, they're about to build a $175 million facility. Right? Like they got money. Everybody act like, oh, you broke, they're not broke. Stop lying. We Oklahoma. Oh yeah, hey, he look at him. Look,
am I back?
You're not even back. You're not just back. You better. You back and you better.
Sweet. I got on. I'm still working things out around here. I got again new spots. So now I'm on my hotspot. So we're back in the game, man.
Night, Gunny. Sleep well, brother.
Night, Gunny. Appreciate you, dog.
All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left here. Hey, don't forget to hit that like button. We got a lot of you in here. Hit that like button. Make sure this video gets up in the algorithm. And if you're watching this out throughout the week, hit the like button. Also subscribe. Love subscribers too. Right now, obviously, YouTube is very much on the like kick to say get your videos noticed, but we love subscribers. We're up over 2,000 now. Grateful for that. Let's keep it rolling. But again, everybody that's in here, just simple thing, do just go over, hit the like button. We appreciate y'all. It's over 100 of y'all in here right now. That will be around the most likes that we normally get. Is about 100, if not more. So that would be great. Let's look at some of these other parts. What sooner in-home visits are going to happen? Who are they seeing?
Man, a lot of people.
Lots.
Bowen, Cecilia Kana, David Hicks. I mean, everybody they can for the most part, because they don't have to use officials or anything like that. But the thing that they're tight on is officials, especially with the transfer portal. I think as this transfer portal grows, I think schools are going to get more officials.
Yeah.
Personally, that's my guess. But I think that every recruit, I mean, even the Florida guys like Lion, they're going to go down. Like, I think the difference is how many. Like, if you get the absolute full court press, like some of the guys, like, where is Venables going to be? Would be the question, right? Do you think Venable, like, does Venables show up at Keon Brown's house in Tallahassee? I think he's in Tallahassee. Maybe not, depending on if he goes down to Tampa to see Lewis Carter. You know, like there's a certain thing, like, can Levy just go hang out with Jackson Arnold without Brent there? Yeah, probably. Like, does Jaquays Petaway need, you know, does he need Brent there? Like, so you have to think about their recruiting relationships and whatnot. Those are probably the things that are a bit more nuanced than just who's getting them and who's not.
Yeah. How many in this recruiting class do you see getting significant playing time in 2023?
Well, I guess it depends on your definition of significant, right? Like, are there starters? Like, Hicks would be close. Like, Hicks would compete for a starting position. I think LeBlanc competes for a starting position. I think Vickers probably gets a lot of playing time. I think Samuel Omosigo has got his body right. His body is college ready, absolutely college ready. PJ Adebawore, I think you can see almost like an RMT role for him. Like, he's in at spots. He's extremely effective in spots. I mean, the guy's got like 84-inch wingspan.
Yep.
He was the fastest at every camp, like in all of his cone drills and everything like that. Like, and PJ's a guy we struggled to get pressure all year. So that's a guy that looks at it and says, "Oh, y'all need somebody to go get the quarterback? Pick me. I'll go get the quarterback." And that's what he'll do.
Yeah. We need that help because we struggle.
And that's just current people for the most part. I know Hicks isn't a current person in the class, but like Peyton Bowen absolutely could get on the 2 deep. And then, like, you have to think about transfers because that throws, you know, a bit of a wrench into the mix of this conversation because we don't know who the transfers are yet. You got to throw in, like, again, like our JUCO guy, like Keyshawn Blackstock. You're like,
yeah,
he could probably get a look too. So
yeah, Dolby maybe as well.
I'm not saying OU's getting all those guys. I'm saying if they were to get those guys, then yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens in the next couple of weeks because I'm sure it'll move pretty fast here after this weekend. Now, remind everybody, Trav, when is National Signing Day? What's the date?
I forget the date. It's in like 2 weeks, something like that.
Okay.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
Look at it this way: Lincoln left us 4 days ago, a year and 4 days ago, and he left like 2 weeks before signing day. So, in case you needed a reminder for that.
Yeah.
This is the year anniversary of me falling asleep on the Twitter space at like midnight and everybody talking while I was asleep.
That was what a time. What
a time indeed.
Well, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. Go ahead and we'll continue to throw some stuff up there. you got questions, continue to ask them. Saw one earlier that I wanted to put up there. Is there still smoke about Zach Arnett?
Yes, there is smoke. The defensive coordinator from Mississippi State. Yes, there is. There's smoke. It's always tough because this isn't the same as like the wide receiver coach search, right? Because this is an interim role that L-Dub has, and I think he's come to terms with he was not hired to be the wide receiver coach at Oklahoma. He's never been a wide receiver coach. He's never been a position coach. So I think he probably understands, look, there's an interim tag role. I'd like to be retained, but like we need an obvious upgrade of the position. It's a little bit more of a nuanced conversation and a more delicate conversation when you're talking about the defensive coordinator position. So that's tougher because like I personally think Arnett's probably the guy, at least that we're targeting. But that stuff is, again, just so much more delicate.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously, again, there's the conversation of what they decide to do with the roof. Is a leak in it? You know, is it going to be set on fire? Is it going to crash through? I don't know. We'll we'll find out. But yeah. Now I know people threw out Jim Leonard's name too, but like you said, and as far as I've heard too, Arnett is the one that is getting more steam and traction. And I think that, you know, it's interesting. One conversation I had today, somebody's interesting mix of what Arnett does. It's different than what BV does from a scheme standpoint. And so it's interesting. If we did go that direction, you know, what would be concocted, if you will. But
yeah, and a young guy, it's similar to like a Levy thing, right? Like Levy runs the offense. There's no confusion, no nothing. Previously, there was some questions whether he did or not when he was at other stops because he was with offensive coaches. So with this, you've got to get a guy that's okay not getting the full credit.
yeah,
If we'd have come out this year and been a top 10 defense, how many people would have given Ted Roof the credit? Zero. Venables defense, man. It's a Venables defense. That's what Venables does. Top 10 defenses. What up? But the defense got off to a slow start, you know, in 2022. Team 128. And all of a sudden now it's Roof has got to go. So I think with that, you're more likely to get an Arnett type of guy other than a Jim Leonard type of guy who's going to, I think, want a little more control.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. 100%.
Let's start Crumb Kaka from my dad.
What is that?
So they're Norwegian. My family's Scandinavian,
Yeah.
Norwegian, Swedish, and German. And Crumb Kaka, it's essentially they're these like cones, like crispy sweet dessert cones, almost like an ice cream cone would be, but it's hard to explain. But lefse is soft, almost looks like a tortilla. You roll it out, spread a little butter, a little bit of sugar, roll it up. It's softer and sweeter than like a tortilla would be, but it looks like a flour tortilla. But lefse is absolutely what I prefer between those two. They might be making some holiday treats right now up at the Davidson household. Maybe that's why he's asking. Who knows?
Man, Mr. Davidson, you gotta send me some, dog, over here to Indy. Hook me up. Hook me up,
We'll get
Pops.
some.
Sounds delicious.
Lefse travels a little bit better than Krumkaka.
Mm.
Krumkaka is a little bit crumbly, and you can't pack it very well.
I agree with based on his last defensive rebuild. Now, some people might disagree with you if they're looking at the wrong stuff, that he's ahead of the curve. But again,
Mm-hmm.
the Big 12 this year was much better than the ACC was when he went there.
Big 12's good this year, folks. I tweeted it out. It's got the highest percentage of bowl eligible teams at 80%. We also have the highest win percentage against Power 5 non-conference opponents. That's important because you shouldn't get credit for beating up on FCS teams. So, best winning percentage against Power 5 non-conference opponents, Big 12. Highest percentage bowl team, Big 12. I think what gets lost with a lot of that is, and people were talking about, well, with only this many, only 10 teams, it's easier. No, it's not. We got to play everybody. We cannibalize. We're not, dodging. Alabama's not dodging, Georgia or anything like that, like what happens with the SEC.
Yep. Last thing I'll say, and then we can get out of here. Do want to get your thoughts and some of the chat's thoughts. Obviously, the Rose Bowl seemed like they had some contract talks, and it's going to speed up the 12-team playoff process as early as 2024 and 2025. So people are wondering, does that speed up the timeline for OU and Texas going to the SEC? That's one thing, but also just I wonder what a 12-team playoff, how they're gonna do it, what details are gonna come out in terms of like, is the Rose Bowl going to host a national championship every year? Is that going to be like the destination? Is that what they talked about, or what was it? But what do you think about all that, Trev?
I think that this kind of lends itself to my overall thought about when we leave. Originally it was, after the 2025 season, because that's when the contract's up.
Yeah.
Well, everything else is pushing forward, right? It's, teams are coming early to the Big 12. We got 4 new teams next year coming to the Big 12 that they're going to have to do new schedules for. They're expediting the college football playoff. Now 2024 being the first season that we use it. Everything, it's not just in college football, it's kind of globally. Everything gets rushed. Everything is, let's not wait, let's push it forward, let's do this, that, and the other. So I don't think that OU and Texas moving to the SEC is the only move in the entire college football landscape that takes as long as it's supposed to, when everything else around it is rushing to get done.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I
think the Rose Bowl's a bunch of entitled punks that you don't hear any other bowl, committee, getting all in a bunch because, they're not getting it their way.
Yeah.
The West Coast elite. But go ahead.
Yeah. Talk about. I'm interested just to see what happens. As you know, I was always a proponent of expansion. I'm not sure that I wanted 12 teams. I thought 8 was going to be perfect. But I really do think it'll be good for college football. I think you're going to get a lot of matchups that you don't normally see. And obviously, you can talk about bowl games, but if you expand the playoff, right, and it's at 12 teams like it is now, you're going to have less opt outs because in a lot of the games you'd like to see, sometimes you have opt outs in bowl games because what's the point? But if you have the opportunity to play for a national championship, then you get a Clemson versus a USC with no opt outs. And potentially, there or let's just say Death Valley, right? Not the real Death Valley, fake Death Valley, but whatever. I digress. But getting matchups like that and fan bases like that, man, that is, in my opinion, it will help the sport. I really feel like it'll help the sport grow. Like being able to sit around like during when everybody's on Christmas break and watch those games, like all eyes are on those games. I think that's going to be really, really good for the sport of college football if they do it the right way. So, we'll have to see what details come out with it. I think one of the other pieces I'm interested in is how it's going to converge with the regular season. And if, are they going to lessen out of conference games and just have it be mostly conference slate or it's conference slate only to offset the number of games that would be played, etc. Those are all things I do wonder about, but I'm excited. I think it's exciting. Again, I think it's ample space for us, especially as we head into the SEC. We know that let's be honest, there's some SEC bias, and we may be able to benefit from that. We have 2-3 losses. You can say, well, they were close losses to, top 5 SEC teams. So
Yeah,
they're at a 10, at 11. I don't know, but yeah.
I think the only thing you and I disagree on is expansion.
Yeah.
And I think we get closer because we both think that if there has to be expansion, then 8 teams is the right one.
Yeah.
I can't really be convinced that 12 is better than 8 because 8 you could fold it in so easily. You could have your 5 conference champions get auto bids,
Yep.
and then you have 2 at large, and then you take the highest rated P5,
Yep.
highest ranked P5. The top 4 seeds host the first round on their campus, so you get rewarded for hosting a playoff game. And then the winners, you just treat that like your normal Final Four.
Final Four, yeah.
So that way, the conference championships are really like a playoff game,
Yeah.
for a lot of people. So, but Pandora's box has been opened. You can't put it back in.
Yeah.
And the thing about the money, like, I don't really like that there's so many bowl games now because you can't, in the history of the world, you can't make more of something and have it retain its value. Like that is simple supply and demand. So the more of something there is, inflation. The more money you print, the less valuable the dollar is. It's just as simple as that. So that's how I feel about a lot of these games. I will say something that is really going to benefit the growth of the sport is gambling. Man, gambling, sports gambling is on the way. It's here. DraftKings and BetMGM and FanDuel and all these things, Barstool sports books, like everybody's got a sports book now. And more people are pressuring state governments to make sports betting legal. Obviously, Kansas just came on board. That's a real deal, man. You're gonna have sports books in every state, every city, every major city will have a sports book in it. And that is how you'll get a lot of people, similar to what fantasy football did for NFL. People now know far more about the NFL than they ever have before because they're having to watch. They have to know who the Jets running back is whenever Carter goes out with an ankle sprain. Like you just have to know it, right? Like you end up knowing all the you know who has big games, who has bad games, depending on who you're playing against. You can do the daily fantasy. So once you start doing that, but with gambling, oh man, I was tuned into a Temple game And I was locked in. It was Temple, East Carolina. I had Temple plus 9.5. I never would have watched that game, but I had it up on the projector. I was tuned in, man. Um, so that's the thing. The exposure and the money will be there simply because people are gambling on it.
Yeah.
But and I don't think it's significantly more money because a 12 team, say the first, the top 4 teams get buys, right? So that's an advantage, an incredible advantage. Well, then 5 through 12, the top, 5 through 8, they all host 9 through 12. Well, now 1 through 4, they get a buy, but they missed out on all that revenue of hosting a game at their stadium. So it's just like, I don't know. 8 was the right number.
What's is the second round the same thing?
No, because I think it just goes traditional. I don't think you go away and away if you're a low seed. I don't think they should, but I don't believe it is. So regardless, I would have loved 4 because it's chaos right now, right? Like they can't even find if TCU loses and USC loses, you can't find deserving teams. The quote unquote deserving teams. Like who you putting in? Bama again? Ohio State that just got shellacked?
Yeah.
Like, I guess, but you're putting teams, 3 lost teams, this, that, and the other, in a 12-team playoff to be like, well, I guess wins don't really matter as much anymore.
Yeah.
But instead, the game, Ohio State, Michigan, that was a playoff game. Like, if that game, it'll always matter. But if that game you can just lose it and it doesn't have any effect on your postseason goals, it doesn't have the same juice.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that for sure. They're gonna have to find a way to make it, like you said, incentivized, whether it's the 1 through 4 buy or whatever else. I mean, you have to find ways at this point with 12 teams. So I'm interested to see what they come up with. I don't know if there'll be any monetary incentives to attach with that. We'll see. But all right, y'all. Well, it was fun tonight. Appreciated y'all being in the chat. Just us talking, good old fashioned OU ball and what happened and some other things in terms of recruiting and obviously, and then with the college football playoff talk. We'll see what happens with the conference championship weekend. See who wins. Obviously, we'll see what TCU does against Kansas State for the Big 12 championship. Really, the other championship games are really not that interesting. It's just
it's
like Michigan.
Ours is Big 12 is the only one with 2 top 10 teams playing in it
because it's the top 2. I mean, the model is working at this point.
It's working just in time for us to get out, but
right.
Purdue being in, that's dumb. All because our Nebraska Cornhuskers took down Iowa. So, regardless, go Utah, absolutely. Take down Muleshoe, but I do think it's interesting because that just shows you the parity of the Big 12, man. Like Baylor, Texas, OU, like those were your betting favorites this year. OSU was probably 4th. Like, and none of them make it in the top 2. TCU is a top 5 team. Like, the parity in the Big 12 has just been fantastic this year. It's been one of the more fun Big 12 years I can remember.
Yeah.
Outside of years where Texas just gets their teeth kicked in, because those are always fun years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've been on the receiving end of that parity this year. And not being but there's always next year.
I think we're going to do a Parker and I are talking about doing a Twitter space Saturday at 11 when that TCU Kansas State game kicks off. So we'll be following along, doing a big space, talking transfers, talking recruiting, talking coaching, positions, all that kind of stuff. So Parker texted me the other night. He's like, "We need to have a space." I'm like, "All right, let's do it." I'm your Huckleberry.
Tomato Sawyer Huckleberry fan.
It's funny, like somebody texted me that earlier about a fantasy football trade,
Yeah.
and I was like, "It's Hucklebearer. It's not Huckleberry." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" I was like, "Look it up. It's Hucklebearer." It was
Huckleberry.
funny. I was like, just the way he says it, I'll be a Huckleberry. Like, anyways, we're a little off topic, I suppose.
Space Saturday, 11 p.m. You heard it here first.
AM.
And Central Time. Put the man Parker in Trav. So y'all go ahead and y'all hit that up. I'm gonna see if I can be there or not. I got some games going on, so probably not.
I'm sure.
Oh man, well we appreciate y'all again for coming out. Thanks for those who stay up late with us, and for those of you who watch throughout the week, appreciate y'all too. Y'all are important as well. Thanks for viewing us, and whether it's to work on a Thursday morning or whatever else. We'll be here throughout the off season again. Hopefully have some more guests on. We're gonna try to do some different things like that, but we'll see what happens with the Sooners and what we have going on. And next thing you know, it'll be a spring game. So bowl game first, though. Bowl game first. We'll do bowl game prep once we figure that out. So.
All right, we find that. We'll have that on the next show. I think we'll know the bowl game on the next show.
We should know that by next Wednesday. So. All right, y'all. We appreciate it. Love y'all. Be safe.
See y'all.